This next one is going to be a French dart, and they are in the side seam on a diagonal. So it will look like this. And if you put the bus points in first, then you are always aiming at them. They come up on a diagonal. You have kind of a range where you can choose to put them anywhere between there, but that's what they look like. A French dart is a side seam dart on an angle. So I'm going to be moving it from where it is in the waist over to the side seam. So I'm going to trace that on again. And if you want to speed the video up so that it takes less time to watch, I usually talk at the speed that my hands are moving, and I find it difficult to listen at that speed. So use the little gear button and increase the speed. Okay, so I want my line to be about right there. So I'll just move it. And while I'm here, I don't want to forget to put my name on it. And it's the front bodice. French dart. Cut 1 on the fold. Size 8. And I'm going to put my grain line on here. And this is what it looks like when it's on the fold. You could shorten that to just putting fold. Okay. Oh, sorry about that. That's me leaving space for seam allowance. And on this one, I'm actually going to try to cut down the middle of the line. But if you're using a nice sharp pencil like you're supposed to, that might be difficult. Alright, there it is. I'm just going to close this. And glue it down. So I left the lid off the glue for about 5 minutes, maybe less. And that made it a lot more difficult to use. So I need to set a better example about putting the lid on my glue. Okay. That will dry clear. And now I've got another opening. Is that going to fit? It's going to fit. There we go. That takes practice, but you can make it turn out nice and neat. Alright, I like to cut that. So this isn't here anymore, and if you're using pencil like you're supposed to, you can just erase it. Then I'm going to measure the distance of the opening again. And I've got 2 3/8, maybe a little less. So half of that is 1 3/16. And most of you know this, but I didn't find when my child was in kindergarten that they taught it very well. So this space is 1 inch. This is half of the inch. We'll zoom in for a minute. Kind of fighting with the curve in the ruler. Okay, so there's the inch. That's half. This is 1/4 of an inch. So this space is a half, 1 out of 2. This space is 1 out of 4. And this space is 1 out, well, both of them are 1 out of 8. So when you put the 8 spaces together, it becomes 1 inch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 8 of these make 1 inch. 4 of these make 1 inch. And 2 of these make 1 inch. 1 of 8, 1 of 4, 1 of 2. When you divide that in half, this little 1/8 of an inch left over, when you divide that in 2, that is 1 of 16. So that's a 1/16 of an inch. So when I'm dividing fractions in half, I'm not thinking about fractions. When I have 2 3/8 here, half of that is 1 3/16, which is 3 of those little ones. So that's 3/16. All right, I know that was boring for some of you, but it was a good refresher. Okay, so I made that little mark, and remember, you can use your paper and just fold it in half instead of measuring. So I'm dividing that in half, measuring out 1/4 of an inch, 1 of 4, and then this is the amount of ease that I need. I have to find a new place on that ruler to use. And then this is my ease. And when you've got a dart that's on the side like this, it's going to fold down. And because I want it on the downside, I'm going to fold it on the downside. So I'm going to roll it over on the table, fold it from the outer edge, and I usually will get the point. So I'll have 2 little areas that I crease just a little bit, and then I'll go between them with my fingernail. And then after you've got this nice and sharp, you put your finger to hold it from folding too far. Oh, and I didn't get that sharp enough right there, so I'm going back to sharpen that up. And then I can just bring one side to match the other. And I did kind of pop that little bit back out. This takes practice. You'll get the hang of it. So now I'm just mashing the middle. I don't ever fold the middle before. I fold the edges and then mash the middle. This line sometimes turns out not quite straight, so you can see how it's off just a little bit. So I'm going to redraw that line. See how I am when I'm making a video? There we go. Okay, it's the outer edge. And while that's folded, I'll cut it off. So this time, do I have colored paper? Yes, I do. So I'll be good, set a good example, and cut it all the way off. So I'm coming to the outer edge right there, and cutting it while it's folded. And I'm going to leave it folded because it comes down below that line right there. So that's what the dart looks like. It's really hard to figure out what they look like unless you cut them while they're folded or unless you use that pinwheel to trace them with. And I'm cutting my line off. And I've got my elbow on the table and the other one anchored. And I had my fingers behind the scissors. Okay. So I don't have yellow paper. I'm going to use pink. So I'm going to glue this on. I'm going to erase those little marks. Anything I don't want there, I want to erase before I get the glue out again, because the glue likes to get in with the pencil and then it won't come off. So you want to keep them nice and neat. I don't have to color that, but it's easy. And you'll find that if you have a separate piece of paper, just to always put the glue over, that it protects your table and your homework so that it looks nicer. And this one again I'm going to put on the edge so that I don't have to cut that. So if you work your way across or away from the center, it lays a lot flatter. And then I can just add my seam allowance and cut that out again and put it on the next piece of paper. But you don't have to do that. You can plan ahead and leave your seam allowance. And I figure you don't want to watch me do this. So as soon as you've put it on another piece of paper that's a different color, if you've got your seam allowance on, you could probably just set it on white. But the standard is to put it on green paper with your picture going the other way. Make sure you've got your name on it. And I find it more helpful when I glue them on not to glue them on solid to this separate paper. I just put a glue dot up here in the area that doesn't move, and then if you want to get it out and play with it and fold it, then it looks nicer when it's finished, and you can look at what you did and understand why. You can also put notes on the outside so that when you're using this, you might want to go back and refer to your book when you get to the next class to see why you did things.